This video is sponsored by Manta Sleep, more on them later. Welcome on board the brand new night train connection from Berlin to Paris, operated by the ambitious startup European Sleeper. And tonight, I was really excited to be trying out their unique comfort standard carriages, which offers a clever solution to one of the biggest problems with running a night train in Europe. And my expectations for this are set high, given this steep price tag. But unfortunately, this journey quickly turned into one disappointment after another. From one of the most chaotic boarding processes I've ever experienced, to being kicked out of my own room and left stranded in the train's corridor, and our train never making it to Paris or let alone France. Join me as I show you one of my most disappointing train journeys of this year. Good evening here from Berlin Hauptbahnhof or Central Station in the heart of the German capital city. Tonight I'm checking out European Sleeper's new sleeper train service over to Paris, which launched just a couple of months ago. I've booked myself a room in the new Comfort Standard carriage, which is an innovative solution to the problem with not having enough sleeper cars in Europe. So let's go check out if it's any good tonight. And now normally I would probably be telling you something about how excited I am for tonight's journey. But actually, I got an email from European Sleeper just an hour ago telling me that our train will not even be going to France tonight. It will in fact terminate in a Belgian city just south of Brussels, where we have to take a 4-hour bus to reach Paris. So it's safe to say, not off to a great start here tonight, European Sleeper, with their operational difficulties. And this was in addition to a schedule change that was announced around 2 weeks before departure, which was not a big deal as we would seemingly still arrive on time. Anyway, there's plenty more to go wrong tonight, but for now, let's check out Berlin's beautiful modern station building. Berlin Hauptbahnhof is one of Europe's newest main train stations, only opening back in 2006, which finally created one true main station for the city after its complicated history. Every time I come through Berlin Hauptbahnhof, I'm always amazed by the scale of this place. It's like a temple, but for trains. And I really do mean that. There's basically a train visible no matter where you're standing inside the station. Naturally, there's also plenty of facilities here, with lots of shops and food outlets. And conveniently, as European Sleeper does not offer showers on board the train, you can have one in the station. The station has trains departing on multiple levels, with the underground portion serving the north-south tunnel. Down here you'll find many ICE services heading to destinations all over Germany, as well as international trains like this Czech Comfort Jet that's just come up from Budapest through Slovakia and the Czech Republic. But our train today will depart from the high-level platforms. Up here you'll also find the S-Bahn, which is the suburban railway network serving Berlin. And across both levels there's plenty of regional trains. You'll also find a few ICE services that use the upper level platforms. These are located on the Stadtbahn, the railway line that cuts east-west through the city. I even caught a glimpse of this rare cargo locomotive pulling one of the international Eurocity services from Poland. Right, our train should be arriving any minute now. We're catching the European Sleeper to Paris, Gare de Mons. Sorry, that was mean to Ryanair. Their airport is way closer to Paris than wherever European Sleeper is taking us. And speaking of European Sleeper, just 3 minutes before scheduled departure time, our train finally showed up, being pulled by one of these Alstom Trax locomotives, which are capable of 160 km per hour. Behind the locomotive is a long rake of various second-hand used night train rolling stock. And yeah, seems like our train had an emergency stop for some reason halfway through the platform. And don't worry, abrupt emergency stops are common on European Sleeper, as you'll see later. But now for the most chaotic boarding process ever, as for some reason European Sleeper has decided the carriage numbering should not be sequential, combined with the platform screens not showing carriage placement information and European Sleeper also not sticking to the planned train formation either, made it extremely stressful to try and find your carriage and board on time, given the train only showed up around 3 minutes before departure. Anyway, I finally found my carriage and made it on board and into what I thought was going to be my room for the night. But as it would turn out after departure, European Sleeper themselves can't even figure out their own numbering system. What a mess boarding was. So the carriage numbers are not sequential, so it just jumped from 37 to 40 and I'm in 39, so I had no idea where my carriage was.
Well, I guess I would have to consult the screen, but that's what happens, I guess. Also, the train showed up 3 minutes before departure, so as you guessed, we are now late.
In the end, we end up departing Berlin Hauptbahnhof at 19:36, running around 6 minutes late, beginning what's hopefully going to be a trouble-free journey from now on.
Great, we've gone maybe 100 meters from Berlin Hauptbahnhof. I don't know if you can see it all the way back there. Maybe a bit more. And we just had an emergency stop and we are now stopped again. I think it's gonna be an eventful journey for sure.
Luckily, in the end, we only ended up being stopped for 2-3 minutes, so let's resume the music montage. We are now traveling along the Stadtbahn, the elevated railway line that cuts right through the center of Berlin, offering some great views of the city from our old carriage with opening windows. And now, as we are finally on the move, let's take a closer look at the route map for today's journey. We are catching European sleeper train 474. Our train leaves from Berlin Hauptbahnhof, officially heading non-stop through Germany without any passenger stops before Liege in the morning, where we then continue through to Brussels and eventually Mons, which is as far as our train will be traveling. However, the train is of course meant to carry on into France, terminating at Paris Gare du Nord. The full trip to Paris was scheduled to take 16 hours and 57 minutes, covering 1,234 kilometers, giving the train an average speed of 73 kilometers per hour. Right, and before we had even left the greater Berlin area, the next problem begins. Turns out that European Sleeper had screwed up their own complicated numbering system. So the regular couchette carriage was shown with the carriage number for comfort standard, and vice versa. So how did we fix this? Well, the staff asked everyone with their luggage to move from both carriages at exactly the same time, which caused a huge jam in all of the carriages in between, which turned into a huge disaster with passengers getting stuck between the carriages at the doors, and overall this was extremely unpleasant. And finally, after what felt like an eternity, after being constantly pushed around by luggage and other people trying to move between the two carriages, I've made it to my actual room, which I've booked for the night. And as you'll see, it's basically just a regular couchette carriage, but with a very different soft product.
I mean, honestly, what a disaster. It's taken 30 minutes from I first stepped on board the train to being sat in the correct compartment, and it was no fault of my own. I mean, I guess I'm glad I have the correct bedding and what I paid for now, but still. And normally now I could just say, well, I hope nothing else goes wrong on this journey, but we already know tomorrow morning at 8 AM we'll be kicked off in Belgium and take a 3-hour bus to reach Paris. I mean, it's not very good, is it?
We will take a closer look at our comfort standard compartment a little later in the video, which is actually a really cool concept, despite it appearing on the surface just as any regular old couchette carriage. But now we are speeding into the sunset on the Berlin to Hanover high-speed railway line, where eventually we come to a stop just outside of Stendal Hauptbahnhof. European Sleeper is a low priority train, meaning we are often pulled aside to let other higher priority trains go in front, and because the train also mostly operates at night where engineering works generally takes place, it's also often prone to delays and diversions.
I think we just got overtaken by a freight train. That says something about this train's priority level, I guess.
Eventually, our train moves on from Stendal Hauptbahnhof. I actually have no idea if we are on time or not. As mentioned, we have no scheduled passenger stops until Liege in the morning, so as far as I know, we could actually be ahead of schedule. Right, let's now take a look at our comfort standard room and what makes it different from a regular couchette. And that is the bedding and mattress topper, which promises to provide sleeper carriage levels of comfort even on these older couchette bunk beds. As for the rest of the compartment, of course you got a closable door with one lock. And I do say one lock because the lock up here did not work at all. Next to the broken lock is where you can find the broken control panel for the temperature in the room next to the working light controls, offering 3 different settings. Above the corridor you'll find a large shelf to store large luggage, bags and other items. The lower bunks are shaped in a way that they can double as seats during daytime journeys, and they even have this fold-out table. Every compartment also comes with 2 power outlets, and these were luckily working. And European Sleeper also offers complimentary water, as well as a small selection of paid room service. Under the bottom bunks you'll find a ladder, which can be installed to help with access to the top bunks. And that's something I haven't seen in a while. There's a table down here, which does take a bit of effort to install.
I mean, it's a bit finicky to set up, but it's doable and it's pretty sturdy. Right, so it seems like the crew has made up the very upper bunk for me, and that's my least favorite bunk, so I'm gonna take the liberty to move the bedding down here and make up this bed. And to get a little extra space you can actually move this up, and then that should slide, you see, the seats slightly back, so the bed becomes a little bigger. Pretty neat.
And honestly, I was a little disappointed again, as despite there being so much bedding in the room, only 1 mattress and pillow was actually made up, with none of the duvets being made, which was very unusual given that every other single night train operator in Europe does this. I even tried to look for a staff member to ask if they do turn down service on European Sleeper, but they were nowhere to be seen in my carriage.
I know it is a pretty minor complaint after all to have to make your bed yourself, but this is not a cheap night train. But on the other side, the bedding does look very good, and this mattress looks very comfortable. We'll see how I sleep and I'll tell you about it in the morning, but I think it will make for a good night of sleep. Definitely a big upgrade.
And if it actually makes for a good night of sleep, I have to say I do like this upgraded couchette concept. It's a great way of getting more private rooms with higher levels of comfort, especially given that second-hand couchette rolling stock is a lot easier to come by than actual purpose-built sleeper rooms in Europe. At 10:30 our train slowly crawls through Hanover Hauptbahnhof, and that's my clue to get ready to get some sleep. So I head off to the toilets to get ready for the night. And honestly, these were not great. While the one in my carriage wasn't locked out of use like several toilets I walked past during the room shuffle shenanigans, I can't exactly say I was impressed with this one, despite it appearing rather clean. The water did not work, and while the toilet itself could produce a few drops of water when I filmed this, it eventually also ran out during the night. Luckily, either another passenger or crew did place a huge bottle of water in one of the 2 washrooms in the carriage, so at least you could wash your hands there. Anyway, I'm now ready to go to bed, so I went back to my compartment, where just before bedtime I discovered another issue.
I mean, honestly, at this point I don't know what to say anymore. I have to make my own privacy curtains.
I could really have used that today's video sponsor, Manta Sleep, reached out a little earlier, so I wouldn't need to make this silly curtain setup to darken the room fully. Manta Sleep has an extensive range of blackout sleep masks and accessories that are perfect for traveling. They are made of high quality materials and perfectly engineered to put as little pressure on your head as possible. I recently got to try the Manta Sound sleep mask on a couple of train rides and flights, and it really does block out all of the light. The mask is super adjustable, making it easy to find the perfect fit for you, and if you sleep on the side like I do, the cups are also specifically shaped to make this comfortable. And the built-in Bluetooth speakers also makes it easy to play anything that helps you sleep or relax. Honestly, this mask has been a game changer for someone like me who spends a lot of time sleeping on transit. And right now, you can take advantage of their summer night sale with 15 to 20% off purchases over $105. And for my viewers, they also got a special deal. Use my promo code IntercitySimon for 10% off all purchases, also under $105. So head over using the link in the description to get your Manta sleep mask before your next trip. Right, back to European Sleeper.
Well, I can't exactly say I've been impressed with European Sleeper tonight, but hopefully I'll get a good night of sleep. Let's see tomorrow. Good night.
Good morning from just outside of Liege in Belgium, where so far we are currently running mostly on time. Seems like we managed to have a smooth journey through Germany last night. We make our stop in Liege at the beautiful station here designed by renowned Spanish architect Santiago Calatrava. And then our journey continues onwards to the Belgian capital city of Brussels.
Well, good morning. It's just past 6 AM and we just completed our stop in Liege, running a couple minutes late. I have to say, I slept pretty well on board. I only got around 6 hours because I wanted to wake up for the sunrise and show you Liege station, but the bedding itself, it's really good, really plush and comfortable. And like, this mattress is really good too. It's some of the best bedding I can remember having on a European night train, so I have to take my hat off for European Sleeper here. This is really good.
I spent the next hour or so just chilling in the bed, watching the world go by and doing some research, and eventually I stumbled across something quite interesting.
Right, so I was just like checking my phone while laying here in bed as we ride on to Brussels, and I just discovered there's actually a WeGo train, the classic one between Brussels and Paris Gare du Nord, and it's scheduled to depart 20 minutes after we are scheduled to arrive in Mons. So I think if we leave Brussels on time, I might go ahead and book that, because then we don't have to take the shitty bus to Paris, and it's only 20 euros, which to me is worth it to avoid a 3-hour bus ride.
So, will we make it to Brussels on time? Well, it's looking good so far, as we are now approaching the city, being offered some great views as we come in from the north, taking the railway line right through the heart of the city into Brussels South Station. Turns out we are actually running a little early now, pulling into Brussels South Station ahead of schedule, which gave me an opportunity to quickly get off the train and take a look at the composition before it was time to get back on board and depart from Mons.
Well, that is the WeGo I want to take from Mons to Paris. Good to see it's running.
And as we now head to Mons ahead of the WeGo, it's time for me to get a ticket booked on that train while we make our way south. The reason given for our train terminating in Mons was due to there not being any space to park the train in Paris. But what I really think they mean is that the usual parking spot they use in Paris was not available for some reason, and instead of finding one somewhere near Paris, it was just easier to terminate the train in Mons and drive it back to the same place where the Brussels to Prague sleeper parks. Which really is a great shame, as the lines are open all the way to Paris and the only thing stopping our train going there is operational convenience for European Sleeper.
Right, that is me all booked to go to Paris with WeGo from Mons. So we just gotta hope we arrive on time, but it's looking good, and I'm very happy not to be spending 3 hours on a rail replacement bus, not even to Paris Gare du Nord, but some random bus terminal in Paris.
And eventually, after a bit more time on the rails, our train slows down as we arrive into Mons in Belgium, the final destination of this sleeper train that supposedly goes to not just France, but Paris. The transfer to the buses was easy, with them waiting directly opposite the platform our train arrived on, but I of course headed over to a different platform to catch the WeGo. So now, as we head to Paris on an actual train, let me start summarizing the trip. So, where do I even start with European Sleeper? Well, let's begin with the positives. I really appreciate what they're trying to do as a private company, proving that night trains are commercially viable. The Brussels to Prague train has been running for a while now, the Paris to Berlin service launched recently, and in September a Brussels to Milan train is coming. It is really cool to see these long lost night train connections coming back, and honestly I quite enjoyed their comfort standard concept. It's a pretty clever idea. But sadly, that's where the good stuff ends. European Sleeper is not cheap. A private sleeper room rarely goes for less than 250 euros, and prices can easily climb above 600. I was traveling with a first class Interrail pass, and even then I still had to pay a steep 170 euro reservation fee for a private comfort standard room. That's not cheap. And that's my biggest issue with the service. If it was a cheap and cheerful night train, I would probably be willing to forgive a lot, The 30-year-old train carriages, the broken toilets, having to make my own bed, the faulty temperature control, the faulty lock, the missing curtains, the chaotic boarding, the messy onboard experience, and not to forget the rail replacement bus. And that's the problem. It wasn't cheap and cheerful, it was expensive and exhausting. As a train enthusiast, I love traveling by night train and I want them to succeed, but at the same time I make reviews and those have to be honest. And based on my experience today, I would recommend you to just fly or take the direct ICE train instead. You'll probably save at least 200 euros, which gets you a nice hotel in Paris instead of a crap one on rails. In the end, our Ouigo train pulls into Paris Gare du Nord before the night train was even scheduled to, and probably before the replacement buses, after what's ultimately been a pretty disappointing journey with European Sleeper. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. If it was helpful or you liked it, make sure to subscribe to the channel as I try to post a new one every Sunday. You can also give the channel extra support by becoming a member. For just a couple of euros every month, you get early access to all videos and exclusive travel updates. Thanks again to Manta for sponsoring this video. Make sure to check out their sleep mask using the link in the description. And if you want to see an actually good night train in Europe, why not check out my video on Norway's excellent first class sleeper train. Thanks for watching.